I was living my worst nightmare. My youngest daughter's health was declining rapidly. We had tried everything, but the doctors couldn't explain what was making her so sick. Just a few days before, she had been healthy. She had so much life, so much potential ahead of her. She was only 12 years old. As her father, I would do anything to make her well. I would give anything. But nothing was working. She was dying. I am the synagogue leader. Typically, I am the one to remain rational and even-keeled. It's my job to provide hope for others. But that day I was exhausted, emotionally and physically spent. My composure was gone, and I was desperate for something to hold on to. I had heard of Jesus and the miracles he had performed. Truthfully, I was skeptical. As the leader, I was wary of offering my community false expectations. The idea of this strange rabbi being the divine rescuer our people had waited for, it was hard to wrap my head around. My wife and I were huddled by my daughter's bedside, crumbling under the weight of despair, when I heard a commotion. Neighbors running out of their houses. Children running down the street in excitement. I peeked my head out the front door to see what was going on, and I saw people flocked around the boat docks. I walked out a little way to get a better view. Stepping out of a boat was a man with the long robes of a prophet. My mind raced with thoughts. Could this be Jesus? The miraculous man I heard about? Of all days, why is he here today? Could he heal my daughter? Is he the hope our daughter needs? I barreled down the hill, tears already flowing. I pushed through the crowds and fell at his feet, sobbing. Everyone was staring, but I didn't care. I begged him to help my daughter, to place his hands on her so she could get well, so she could live. To my surprise, he agreed. There was an unusual peace about this man. He spoke with gentleness and authority. The frantic mob didn't bother him. I was desperate, losing control, but he was calm, unshaken. On our way back to the house, others were fighting for his attention. Another woman stopped him, said something about 12 years of bleeding. I couldn't really hear, but I didn't care. We were wasting time. Didn't these people know my daughter's life was slipping away? While Jesus was speaking to the woman, my friend ran out to us. He was pale as a ghost, and he looked at me with pity. "Jairus," he said, "your daughter has died. There's no reason to bother this prophet anymore." The world spun. My knees got weak. I fell to the ground. But Jesus wasn't shaken. He told me not to be afraid. He looked right at me with peace in his eyes, and something in my soul trusted him. When we arrived at my house, you could hear the wailing from outside. But when we entered, Jesus told my grieving family that she would be okay. The doctors laughed at him, but Jesus was confident. It didn't make any sense, but somehow I trusted him. Jesus seemed to know exactly where he was going. He led my wife and I and 3 of his disciples right to the room where my daughter lay. He walked over to her and gently grabbed her hand. With authority, like I have never heard before, he said, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the breath returned to her body. She stood up with the same life and energy she had had before. My precious daughter was returned to me. No amount of hugging and thanking could ever express the gratitude I felt in that moment. From that day on, my life had changed forever. I see the world differently now. My God met me in my greatest need, and I will remember this. Even in my worst nightmare, my God is good.
Think about a movie or a book that you've seen or read multiple times. Imagine the story in your head. Now imagine the very first time you experienced that story. Imagine the excitement, maybe the nerve-wracking feeling, the anxiety or the fear, or the joy that was brought through that story for the very first time. Now as you play that story through your mind, now think about the second time you experienced it. Think about how maybe that emotion shifted a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I get really into stories. I love a good book or a good movie. But the second time always does feel a little bit different. The emotions feel a little bit less strong. Things might feel just a tad bit less nerve-wracking or scary or exciting. You can still experience the joy, but it's just a little bit different. Now, you all heard and read a story today about a father's interaction with Jesus. In this story, we have those two main characters. We have the father and we have Jesus. Now, the father is living a horror movie. He is pretty much in his worst case scenario with his daughter sick. And so he comes to Jesus in complete desperation. He is very understandably stressed. He acts desperately. He is overcome with these frantic emotions, and that carries him through the story. It's what leads him to Jesus' feet. Now, Jesus, his demeanor is contrasting the Father's. Jesus' demeanor is a lot more calm. He remains steady and unshaken. Throughout the whole story, he doesn't seem to be buying into the franticness of the story. When the father falls at his feet, Jesus is unsteady. And when the people tell the father that the daughter had passed away, Jesus' response is, "Do not be afraid." And then when Jesus walks into a room where people are wailing and crying, he says, "Why all this commotion?" And he walks into the room where this precious daughter had passed away, and he confidently says, "Stand up." And he brings the girl back to life. He remains unshaken. Jesus does not seem to be shaken by the trials of this story. Now, compared to the man, it seems that Jesus has a very different perspective on the story. And might I suggest that different perspective on the same story comes from the fact that Jesus knows the end of the story. Jesus knows how the story ends, and so he perceives the whole story a little bit differently, like we experience a movie or a book differently the second time we read it. Think about it. If Jesus is God, and if he knows how the story ends, he knows that he is about to go to the cross. If he knows that this family will receive salvation, he knows that that sweet daughter of the Father's would live for eternity, then he's not shaken by the trials that are in front of him. If he knows that there will be one day where the evil and the suffering and death of the world will be no more, things feel a little bit less emotional, scary to him. He knows how the story ends, and he knows that the story is good, and so he is not shaken by the trials in between. Friends, as Jesus followers, we also know how the story ends. We know because of Jesus that there will be a day where death will be no more. There will be no more evil in our world. All will be made right. And so we get to hold on to that through trials. We can be assured of that. We can be assured of what is to come through the trials and the hard times that we face. And because of Jesus, we also know that our God is active. He is present with us in our world, and He is providing solutions to our problems, to our trials in all that we face today. Around Christmas, we sing the name Emmanuel. We talk about how Jesus is Emmanuel, and that word means God with us. And so when we face hardships, we can be assured that our God is with us, that He is working in our circumstances right now. You guys, our stories, as you know, are not always going to be easy. And I pray that you all do not experience horror stories like the father did in the story that we heard, but we will face trials. And hear this, it is not a problem for you to experience emotion. It is so fair for you to be sad or frustrated or hurt, but we have a different perspective on trial when we know the assurances that Jesus offers us. We can be assured of what is to come. Jesus offers us this guiding light on how to handle hardship. We can endure hard times because we are assured that our God is actively at work, and we are assured that there will be a future where all will be made right. Jesus paves that light in front of us, and we can walk confidently in it. So, just like the story you read today, I wanted to point out one thing. Jesus, when He talks hopefully, the people around Him laugh. When Jesus says, "The daughter is just sleeping," the people listening scoff and laugh. You guys, you're going to experience this too. There are going to be moments where things feel broken and messed up, and our world is broken. So there will be plenty of situations where things are not right. And you're going to be that light. You're going to be that light in that situation, saying, "No, our God's at work. God's got this. I trust God." And even in the hardest of times, you can say, there is something greater to come. And you're going to offer that light to other people, and people will need to hear it. But the reality is, to some people, it's going to be stunning. You're going to stand out in the way that you are assured. And guys, I just want to say, live into that. Live into that light. And offer that assurance, that enduring assurance to those around you. Like the father in the story, you guys, when we experience hard times, let's fall at Jesus' feet and let's walk confidently in the light that He offers us.